Okay, folks, if we can settle down, we'll get started with our session here. It's entitled The Future of Farming. And I was thinking about that title, and I think people in the room are aware that the present state of agriculture around the world and in Western Canada, you know, I'm sure you're organic farmers because you question the sustainability of the other system, and so that's something to keep, you know, that I had in mind when I was thinking about introducing DAG and Wally. Starting out with DAG FALCK, we'll move right into that. I'll read what's in the pamphlet here. DAG, I've known for a number of years, and he's recognized as an expert in the organic industry. Been around a long time. DAG has served as Organic Program Manager for Nature's Path Organic Foods since 2002. And prior to joining the company, he was an organic inspector for 15 years. DAG studied agronomy in Norway and moved to North America to work as an organic inspector. As an inspector, he worked with a variety of farm operations, from market gardens to large field crop ventures and complex organic processes, helping to develop his unique perspective of the organic sector. At Nature's Path, DAG oversees all aspects of the company's organic supplies, policies, and consumer interaction. He builds strong organic networks and connections between farmers, manufacturing, and consumers. He helps to ensure that enough cropland is converted to organic, and he provides organic farmers with access to resources and techniques that ensure the highest quality of organic crops. DAG is active in the development of the organic sector, currently serving as President of Canada Organic Trade Association, COTA, Chair of the Canadian Permitted Substances List, PSL, and he's a board member of the Non-GMO Project. In the past, he served as Chair of the Organic Agriculture Centre of Canada, which is dedicated to promoting organic industry research and infrastructure development. DAG lives with his wife in British Columbia and enjoys his own food, growing his own food in a large organic vegetable garden. And DAG has been a very important participant with Organic Connections from the beginning, I think, and always has interesting things to say. DAG.
Hi everyone, I just put my timer on here. Me and Wally are going to split our time, and I'm going to talk more about the motivational sides and that sort of thing, and Wally's going to get into more of the numbers. And after we're done, we're going to have questions and answers, and hopefully have time for a little bit of discussion, because I think the discussion is going to be really interesting. Great to be here. Thanks for that introduction. I realized I'm in trouble. It's my responsibility to make sure we don't run out of organic grains, and keep transition to organic. And I can't do that without all of you here. So I need more help because we're already in trouble. So anyway, we'll talk this through, and we're all on this train together, and we're going to be making the changes that we need to make, but it's obvious that we do need to make changes. So first, I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, first I'll ask you, how many certified organic farmers are in the room? Okay, that's by far most of you. How many farmers are here that are not certified organic, but farmers? 2, okay. And I was going to ask how many people are here who want to become certified organic. So I guess that's to you too. Are you interested or considering it? Because if you are, you're in the right place, and we actually want more of you here you're representing that opportunity for growth in organic. So we're hoping to attract people that are thinking about it. And so my message is going to be mostly to you, actually, because I'm going to talk about how great this movement is and how important it is and what we're doing and why we should be growing this and why it's an opportunity. So I often get asked this question, at trade shows and such. Is organic a fad? Is it going to go away? Is it just, it's here for a little bit, but it's going to die away? Or is it a trend? A trend is more than a fad. Obviously, a trend is more like something that's a little bit more stable. But I say, no, it's a movement. It's a movement that's been here for a long time and is going to be here for a long time. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why that is. It's not just wishful thinking. There's all kinds of indicators that show us why that's going to be the case. First of all, we have a growing market. So if you're running any business, you want to have, the ideal situation is to have a growing market. There's going to be more and more people wanting the product that you have to provide. We know some of the challenges we have is the infrastructure in getting the product from farm to the consumer. And all of that mechanic movement of grain, for instance, in between. We know, we have looked at this extensively, and we know that that's one area where we do need to do a little bit more work. And we have, but a business opportunity doesn't mean that there's not work, so we just kind of identify where that is. We have right now, and all of you organic farmers are very aware of this, is that we have a very healthy premium, an organic premium for the product. We have experienced in recent years the premium disappearing just about to nothing. So the premium meaning the difference in the price between conventional or non-organic product and the organic price. So right now, Wally's going to definitely give us some of the detail on this, we're 2 times, in some cases 3 times the price of conventional goods. That's a real good business opportunity. Can we count on that premium to always be there? No, because that's a market fluctuation. We do not control it fully. So there's, again, something we have to maybe pay attention to in terms of building our businesses. And then the last thing is, can we grow organic? It's great. So we have a market, a growing market. We know we have some nuts and bolts to fix up. But can we grow organic? What are the challenges with growing organic? Is it easy to grow organic? How many of you organic farmers think it's easy to grow organic? Oh, shoot. not a hand went up. Okay, you're supposed to be encouraging. Okay, so we do know that it's a bigger challenge to grow organically than non-organically. And so we have to make sure that we have all of the pieces in place to support farmers to solve those problems, because they are significant, right? The challenges are significant, and they're different. They're probably more different than they're significant, if you know what I mean. It's not that we don't have solutions to it, it's not that we haven't successfully overcome them, but they're very different from the complexity of conventional farming, which is not that complex because it's simplified with the whole machinery behind it, our whole structure, all of our universities, all of our governments, all of our funding, seed research, all of these kind of things have geared themselves to supporting conventional agriculture. So they have a lot of support. We are doing it all on our own, except Matt's changing that. Before I started working, or alongside with working in organic, I had a job at the Mennonite Center for Newcomers in Edmonton many years ago. And I was the small business coach there. And I learned about this principle of business and developing businesses. I saw hundreds of starting businesses either make it or not make it in the process. And this is one thing I learned there that I found very useful that I wanted to share with you. And that's called the product life cycle. So every product has a life cycle. It's a new product. Everything starts out as a new product. It goes through an introduction stage. That's the blue there, blue link. Can you all see this chart okay? So it starts growing, and then there's a growth stage where more and more conventional society is starting to recognize this growth stage or this product, and is starting to take off. And then you have it where it's like Pepsi-Cola or Coca-Cola, right? That's in the maturity stage. It's been around for 50 years. I don't know how. It's been around for many, many years. It's just everybody's got it. They just keep plugging out a little bit of advertisement and a few little tricks like Coke versus Pepsi, that kind of stuff. But it's basically they're there. They're established. And then a product sooner or later will decline. You know, it will go out of popularity for whatever reason. So, you know, it will. Some products hardly ever seem to run out, like milk and bread, you know, butter, that sort of thing. Although even that, you know, I don't know if you read the Wheat Belly, but if you have, you can see how bread could end up going on the decline at some point as well. So every product starts off with at the bottom and goes up and then goes down. So where is the organic product life cycle? Where are we at for this industry, for this movement, for this commodity that we grow? And I say that we are right here in the very late stages of the introductory stage. And what that means when you're talking from a business perspective, so when you're coaching a new business, first thing you want to do is you want to find out where are you at on this chart? Where is your product at on this chart? And once you determine that, then you build your business strategy around that. There's different business strategies for each one of these life cycle stages. So that at the introductory stages, and I'm telling you this because I think this helps us clarify our thinking around it. And we sometimes feel like we're in a different stage than we are, and getting clear on where we are can sometimes help us. We often feel like we are at the late growth stages, and that's where competition is the biggest barrier, the biggest challenge. We are not there. Competition is not the biggest barrier for us. We're at the early growth stages. We're past the very, very early stage where, you know, the carrots in the store, the organic carrots in the store, and besides the lemons, which are the two only organic products in the store, you know, 30 years ago, they're shriveled up, and people are going, what is that, right? That was the earliest stage of organic. We overcame all of that, you know. We now have attractive product on the shelf. Organic is growing like crazy. We grew up 31% last year. So, you know, we're definitely past those early stages, but we're still in the early introductory stages. And so competition for sales is not our problem. We think it is, but it's not. It's just a matter, like some of the other things, like the infrastructure and so on, are some of the areas we have to get better at. So anyway, that's my main point on the life cycle. So now I want to just give you a couple of hits on why we're doing the right thing here. You know, what is it about organic? What's it that's important? And obviously it's residue, you know, I'm talking about pesticide residue prevention. So consumers are very interested in the food that doesn't have pesticide residues. And so this is one study, and Matt mentioned another newer study actually, so this is an older study. And it showed that they fed kids an organic, a conventional diet, and they switched it to an organic diet. And within 8 to 36 hours of the children switching to organic food, the pesticides were no longer detected. So the same kind of story that Matt was telling us. So we have some data on this, we have studies, and these are just some of the studies. I'm showing you some examples. The Rodale Farming Systems Trial, I don't know if you know about that, but there's been a systems trial where they've been growing organically and non-organically on an organic farm. You know, obviously the non-organic trial is not certified organic, but they've been doing side-by-side trials for 30 years, and they've started to gather a lot of data on it. And so this chart shows you some of the comparisons. So in yield, the green lines are organic, and the gray are conventional or non-organic. And so you can see for yields, it's fairly close. It's really not much difference at all. And these crops are not necessarily, there's soybean and corn probably mixed in with these crops, so it's not all grains, so it's a little bit different. It doesn't apply directly to our region here if you're from Saskatchewan area or the prairies. But still, it's showing a strong trend. And then you can see the energy input, they've measured that, and the greenhouse gas input. And so organic is similar yield. It has less of the negative inputs that we're using, and the profits are 2 to 3 times is what their study shows. And these are actual studies with actual numbers. They're not made up. There's, crops are grown in the ground and harvested and sold to come up with this. Then there's climate solutions that organic provides. If 10,000 medium-sized conventional farms converted to organic farming, enough carbon would be stored in the soil to equal removing over 1 million cars from the road, which is equal to 14 billion miles. So the Rodale Institute also did a study on carbon sequestration. That's when carbon is pulled out of the air and stored within the microorganisms that are alive in the soil in what we call tilth, or organic matter. And as you know, one of the most important tools of the organic farmer is having really healthy soil. What healthy soil means is there's a lot of stuff going on in the soil. There's the life in the soil. That life in the soil is holding carbon because it's storing it there. It's using carbon in the process of being alive. And so compared to a soil that's conventional, you have less life in the soil because that's not your focus. Your focus is on the nutrients. In organic, the focus is on the life in the soil, which will make the nutrients. But by bypassing the focus on the health of the soil, you are creating more, less microorganisms, more nutrients that bypasses the need for the microorganisms, which means that there's not as much carbon stored in the soil. There's a study from the US where they studied garden crops for 50 years, and from 1950 to 1999. And they found, this is just conventional, this is not studying organic foods, they're also studying conventional foods. And they found that there was a decline in all of these nutrients. And protein declined by 6%, calcium 16%, phosphorus 9%, iron 15%. 38% riboflavin and vitamin C 20% drop. And so we can ask ourselves why, what happened? Regular food got worse? Like what happened? It's sliding, it's going down. So organic, even though we don't have all the studies directly related to this particular look at the food, we are seeing studies coming in showing that nutrients in organic is going up and bypassing conventional foods. There's one very exciting study that both Wally and I are very excited about sharing, and we are hoping to get the word out about this study. It's a meta-study or meta-evaluation of 343 peer-reviewed publications. It was done in Europe, and there's a long list of the scientists that were involved with it. And this is a friend of mine, Chuck Benbrook. He's a wild scientist, a great guy. He used to be the scientist for the Organic Center in the US, and he now works for the University of Washington State. And so I would encourage you all to have a look at this study. And so the main findings of the study is that there are additional antioxidants, significant antioxidant increase in organic, 18 to 69% higher concentrations. And they tested the consumers who switch to organic fruit, vegetable, and cereals, and they will get 20 to 40% more antioxidants in their diet. So these are the kind of things that consumers are looking for. And pesticide residues 10 to 100 times fewer, and there's a lot more detail to that. And I'm going to see if my Wi-Fi works here. Oops, didn't do it, did it? Maybe it is. We'll see if my Wi-Fi can pick up this website, just to show you what it looks like there. And the British Journal of Nutrition, you can download the entire study for free, so there's no charge here. You can go here, pull down a PDF, and you can read the whole study for yourself. This is a crop to slow me down, pretty picture. This is, well, I should ask you, what kind of crop is this? Red wheat? Spelt. Yeah. And it's actually grown not too far from my house, in the Okanagan in British Columbia. We got some weeds there as well. Yeah, biodiversity. Then, looking at how important is nutrition. So, so we have organic. We're finding studies. We're starting to say it's more nutritious, which has been a debate up till now. Now it's starting to change where it's no longer a debate. We can say it is. How important is nutrition in our lives? So if you look at this study here from the U.S. quite a few years ago, but still, they were looking at the primary causes of death. And so this is tracking the actual cause of death in the United States in 1990. So tobacco was by far the highest killer. And then the second highest killer was poor diet, lack of exercise. So you can see what we eat is not some small thing. This is a very major thing. This is people are waking up to these things, and they're starting to say, am I causing as much risk, almost as much risk to my life as smoking? Well, what do I have to do? And you can see illicit drug use is, hardly kills anybody. we're all glad to know that, right? This slide, I didn't know how to put it together, and so I just put my heading up there, and I thought I'll just talk on it because I couldn't figure it out, and I want to help figure it out later maybe for future presentations. But the conversation that we hear all the time from conventional ag is that, well, organic doesn't yield very well. And even though we have charts showing that the yield is equal or whatever, there are times, there are situations where organic yield is not as high. And Wally's going to talk a little more about that probably, just how that works out with our plow down years, for instance. But the conversation the negative conversation or attention we get is organic doesn't yield as well. If we're going to feed the world, we can't grow it organically because we're just not going to be able to do it. But I think that's the wrong question. We need to not talk about yield per acre. That's not the issue here. The issue is yield per ton. So yield per ton of fertilizer, of fossil fuel derived fertilizer. That's the units that we need to compare. Because it doesn't matter if you have land, if you have no fertilizer and your only farming system works with fertilizer, but you've run out of fertilizer. What are you going to do then? So that's the conversation. We have to change the question. So every time we get that question, like how many yield, what's your yield per acre? We need to say, well, I'm going to tell you what my yield per fertilizer is, per chemical fertilizer, and it's 0. Well, or whatever. I don't even know. That's why I'm having trouble making the slide here. How do you express that? So it's like to make it even more clear. If you were to set up an experiment where you're going to do that, like the Rodale Institute did, where they have an organic field here or strip here and a non-organic strip here, and they compare the yield. But you said, well, but let's have an even playing field first before we start, because you can't, for the non-organic part, you can't have an artificial input. So we're going to have that trial. And we're going to be organic here, and you're going to be non-organic here, but you're not allowed to use fertilizer out of a bag. Then let's compare yields, right? So we got to start taking more pride in what we're doing. We're on the right track. We are solving a problem that hasn't hit us yet. Fertilizer is going to run out. It hasn't run out yet. We've seen prices go up, but it hasn't run out yet. And it may not run out in our lifetime, perhaps, but it will run out. And when it runs out, how dead do we want our soil to be? Because the soil that's dead from overuse of fertilizer, it's not going to be able to support even organic crops for many, many years because you have to rebuild the fertility. So anyway, that's the claim to fame, and my timer went off, so I'm going to quickly wrap up here. But so that's what we can be proud of, is that we create, organic farmers create a yield without using the crutches of chemical fertilizer. And that's what it's all about. Now, I was going to talk a little bit about this. So for a question period after, this is an old sickle bar mower, horse-drawn, and it's faded. And that's where we came from, and that's where agriculture started out, kind of thing, and now we have to reinvent ourselves. And I think that the future of farming, notice that the title of this session is not the future of organic farming, but the future of farming actually is organic. So, thank you.